My name's Daisy. I'm part of the Poverty Truth Commission facilitation team.
That is a mouthful, isn't it?
Isn't it? Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't have to say that. I'm Paul. I'm a friend of the Commission. I've been getting to know people over the last sort of year, 18 months, and we, together, are going to be a double act, and we're going to be your hosts today.
So BCP still has its challenges with inequality. With places like Sandbanks, Highcliffe and Southbourne right next door to areas of high deprivation. That inequality in BCP looks like a 13-year difference in life expectancy, depending on which neighbourhood you live in. It looks like school attainment varying from way high above national average to well below national average, depending on where you live. In June, just last month, Citizens Advice saw a 121% increase in financial crisis issues and a 126% increase in charitable support and food bank referrals. So this rise in the cost of living is affecting people all across our neighbourhoods, with many families going without 3 or more essentials like showers, toiletries, a warm home or food.
So why a celebration event? We're here to make visible as best we can in this time work that's been happening over the last 18 months. Yeah, okay, we could write a report and email it to you all. Hey, but where's the fun in that? So, let's crack on. First of all, I'd like to invite one of our commissioners, Sue, to take to the floor. I love that. It's like Strictly, isn't it? She's going to be doing the paso doble. Anyway, Sue's going to come and she's going to share a bit more with you about what the last 18 months has looked like for our commissioners.
Round of applause for Sue.
Hello everybody, hi. Thank you for coming. I'm Sue, one of the Community Commissioners. A year ago, almost to the day, I stood here and shared what a Poverty Truth Commission is. I started by explaining that a Poverty Truth Commission starts with the understanding that lasting social change happens only when those who experience struggle participate in generating that change. Over time, we all identified 3 important issues we wanted to focus on deeper as a commission. Those issues are humanising the process, housing and home and empowered communities. We created an ideas checker to stay on track, so along the way we kept to the principles of listening deeply, building relationships, shifting power and taking time. In our groups we made sure we looked through the lenses of Community Commissioner wisdom, diversity and inclusion, long-term thinking and mental health. This is not the end. This is just the beginning, and the beat goes on. Nothing about us without us is for us. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Debbie, Community Commissioner. It's called the PTC and me. I've lived in various extremes of poverty for most of my life. I've experienced homelessness, mental illness, and alcoholism. It had been a long time since I'd felt like I'd been heard and my views had been taken seriously. It felt empowering. The launch event was a turning point for me. When I saw the commitment that everyone had towards a common goal, and I saw how well everyone worked as a team, I finally understood why we'd spent so much time talking and sharing and doing what I thought were pointless activities. I realised that everything we'd done up until that point had been carefully planned and designed to achieve the unity needed to make the launch a success. PTC was about building relationships and establishing trust in order to achieve long-lasting solutions. It wasn't about instant results. It was about a process and establishing a strong foundation to build on. I needed to start trusting the process. Over the next few months, I learned that the business commissioners were actually decent people. They were genuinely interested in our stories and wanted to use our voices to help improve the way their jobs were done. Through our sharing of positive and negative experiences, the business commissioners could keep doing what worked well and change any practices that didn't work so well. Against my expectations, we did establish a mutually beneficial working relationship. For me, the PTC has been a personal journey of discovery. It's been a bumpy road, and I very nearly gave up on it a few times. I wanted to rush in and save the world, with ill-informed, half-baked ideas that would crumble into dust when put into practice. I'm grateful to the PTC for everything I've experienced. I've accepted that we can't eradicate poverty instantly, and we probably won't have the same impact as the great philosophers of old. But I'm proud of what we've begun and what we've achieved together. I'm grateful for the wonderful people I've met. Spending time with all of you has been rewarding, inspiring, and a genuine privilege. Perhaps we won't save the world, but we can have a bloody good try.
The listening has been an amazing discipline, because actually my brain is one of those that I hear things and I want to jump straight in with a response and with ideas and what are we going to do? But actually sitting and listening and absorbing properly, understanding, and sometimes letting other people speak, which for me is quite something.
Phoenix, it's been a particular joy for me, not just to see how you've contributed in the sessions, but I know that during the last year I've watched you find your feet in the creative community, performing more widely around our area. You and I have talked about groups that we both feel passionate about, who we want to make sure are represented in all these sort of processes. What sort of particular group would you like to see better represented and their voice well heard?
Well, for me, I want the LGBT community be heard, people of colour as well to be heard, and anyone who has struggles like the rest of us in poverty.
And what it says to me is people need people. It's the blindingly obvious, really. But actually, when you know somebody, when you trust them, when you've built relationship and had time with them, it is much easier to go, you know what, I'm really struggling with this. Can you help? And actually, there's a trust relationship built there. And I think that's something that, as those of us involved in the wider system or partnerships, that's a real thing to challenge us and to get us to think about how we can make that a reality on a wider scale.
The fundamental to this is about power and recognising where power lies, acknowledging the privilege and power that we have within service and institutions, but also that we can't achieve what we want to deliver without sharing and giving away some of that power and working with people so that they're not just that people's voices are heard, but people feel that their voice has value and that they're able to contribute. And I think lots of our structures don't support that. And I think it's a way of not doing this in a sort of tokenistic way, but really having that deep commitment to dismantle some of the things that cause blockages for people's voices.
What we want to do now is give you a bit of a flavour of what our discussions have been like in our task groups. And to do that, I would like to introduce just through a little game. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a slide on the screen behind me. I'm going to show that slide for 15 seconds, and then I'm going to take it away. And then as a table, I would like you to see how many of these things you can remember and write down on your cog together. Okay, and I think that is your time. Right, that's your lot. Write down how many on your cog, how many of those things you can remember. You have 2 minutes. On the big cog, yeah, on the big cog on the tables. How many people got 11? We've got 11 down here. Brilliant. Well done. 10. So that was just a little game to kind of warm us up and to get us moving. So you might be wondering why on earth we've selected those items. And these items represent the sections of the Poverty Truth Commission Ideas Checker that we created. You may remember Sue talking about the Ideas Checker as she walked us through the journey that we've been on this year. So we've used this Ideas Checker machine when thinking about ideas that have come out of the various Poverty Truth Commission task groups. So you put an idea in at the top, and you reflect on the cogs as it goes through the machine. Are we looking at our idea through the lenses of community wisdom, inclusion and diversity, long-term thinking, and supporting the mental health of all involved? How does this idea shift power dynamics? How does it see power being shared or flipped on its head? How does this idea give time to listen deeply? Is it giving the time needed for the community to share their wisdom in a way that matters and be a meaningful part of decision making? How is this idea relational? Does it go beyond the language of service users and clients? And does it give the opportunity for people to really get to know each other? How does this idea nurture the soil? This one's a bit of a metaphor. It was brought to us by Commissioner Allen, and he said in our session, if you want to grow a forest, you don't start by growing trees. You start by tending to the plants that nurture the soil, making the right environment through planting moss and grasses. Without good soil, when you go to plant a tree, it will probably die. And people will say, we tried it, it was too hard, trees don't grow here, it's too difficult. Well, to help you explore this a little bit further, we have an activity for you to do on your tables to see how an idea might develop with different cogs in mind. So to do that, we have a scenario that has been brought to us by our Housing and Home task group. Imagine you are a housing association team exploring a new way to engage with residents in younger households. This is the scenario we'd like you to consider. How would you shape this work if you were thinking about this scenario, focusing in on the cog of spending time to listen deeply, or maybe you're focusing on the cog of shifting power, or nurturing the soil, or being relational? So in a moment, I will ask you to turn over your big colourful cog that you've listed all these items on, and you will find out which cog your table is going to be focusing on. Then as a table, we would like you for 15 minutes or so to reflect on those things, to reflect on this challenge with your cog in mind.
With the support of our amazing team, I'll share our golden nugget, which was that the nurturing the soil for this housing association would be to make sure that at the beginning you've got all the things that are necessary to actually follow through on what you come up with. So you need to have commitment from the leadership and you need to have funding ready beforehand. But then you also need to be doing the bottom up, building relationships slowly and building trust.
I think it all starts with empathy. So Sue came up with a brilliant suggestion that to overcome even the age gap, sometimes you can share that you've had similar experiences. You've gone through some of those parenting challenges. And just admitting that is the first step to understanding what people might be going through.
Basically what we said was about like appealing to their interests. So you find an activity you can do together, you do that, and then through that you start to talk about the housing association, but first you build the relationship with them.
And thank you so much, everybody, for leaning in and throwing your hands into this activity. We wanted to give a flavour of what our conversations have been like over the last year.
We want to ask the critical question, what's emerging from this whole process? We want to share some of the things that are emerging. And the key thing is that they will continue over the next 5 months and beyond.
I'm committed to taking this learning into my future work, supporting BCP to involve our communities in how we make decisions.
Together as a task group, supported by our fellow commissioners, we wrote a baseline, which should be on the screen now. Yep, perfect. And I'm just going to pause for a second and let you guys read that. Okay. I can see some faces looking at me, so it looks like you have. Just before I carry on, I just want you to raise your hand if you believe that everybody deserves this. There you go. Already we have the buy-in in the room that this is something that we should be aspiring to. So we are going to take this to social housing forum, homelessness reduction boards, private landlord forums, and encourage them to agree that this is a standard we should all aspire to.
I was privileged to be a member of the Humanising the Process Task and Finish group. And I think the first most important thing we did was we collected evidence from people's stories and developed what you could call it a charter, you could call it a checklist, but we got a very powerful description of how it feels when we're being treated as a human, when we're coming forward and stepping forward for care and support. And then some of the things that make us feel that the process has been less than human. And I think that's a really good starting point for starting to challenge our system. Some of the things that we're now working on, we had a whole range of ideas that came out of that Task and Finish group. We talked about training, designing a training offer for organisations so that organisations could hear and work directly with community commissioners to understand the things that we should be doing if we're going to run human processes and the things that we should absolutely avoid. We talked about bringing community commissioners into some of these leadership spaces so that they could meet leadership teams and tell their story to the leaders in our system. And when you put some of these ideas together, perhaps the idea that was most exciting to some of us was, what if we could build a social enterprise led by community commissioners that would bring that experience directly into our organisations and almost work as an equal partner in how we could improve care processes, how we could overcome some of those barriers, make accessing care and support far simpler than it's been to date, because that's what excludes people all too often.
As Daisy mentioned, you've all been given a packet of seeds that's on your table. The thing is with a packet of seeds is if you just leave that on the table when you leave today, it's just going to remain a packet of seeds. If you put it in your bag and a week later it's still sitting in your bag, then nothing's going to happen to that packet of seeds. So what we're going to ask you today, metaphorically, is to take away these seeds and think about where you're going to plant them, how you're going to nurture them, and even the step before that, what steps can you take to create the soil, to create the conditions and the space for these seeds to grow and to thrive into the big oak tree, into the big forest. So we're going to be asking you to make a pledge and make a commitment today that you stick to, that's about creating those conditions or about planting those seeds. So it's taking your seeds. It might feel that eradicating poverty is just too big for one person, that we don't know where to start, but if we all start with planting those seeds, then even just those of us in this room can have a massive impact.